Hello, everybody. Andrea here. So I want to do this short video on infection control for a dental office. It can be very confusing talking about spore testing, indicators, pouches, sterilizing, what should be done every day, what should be done per load, what should be done per pouch. So I'm going to show you guys something right now. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to show you guys what I do. Please remember, I am a mobile dental hygienist with my own business. So what I do is going to be different than what you're going to do in a dental office, but I'm going to explain the differences for you. So these are class 5 indicators, okay? So notice how it says type 5 right here. I just simply peel one off. This would be your indicator. Your class 5, there needs to be something in your load per day, okay? This is just basically to test that your sterilization is working, your sterilizer is working. So they say 1 load per day, and this is per cycle. So if you're doing a rubber and plastic cycle, 1 class 5 indicator per day, and then do another one if you're going to be using the unwrapped cycle, 1 load per day in your sterilizer. Typically in a dental office, you're just going to do 1 load per day in each sterilizer that you have. Typically it's going to be the wrapped cycle. And I don't know if I said unwrapped earlier, but I meant wrapped. Your cycles should always be in the wrapped cycle or the rubbers and plastic. So if you guys look at your sterilizer, you typically pick one, and that's kind of how that works there. But you also want to put it in something called a processing challenging device. So this is this pink thing here, okay? You can make your own by like putting it in a pouch in something else, but this is just the easiest way to do it to ensure that your dental office is doing the right thing. And that's why I purchased one too. They were literally $30 or $40. I can't remember now, and they last forever. So what I do is I put 1 class 5 in here, 1 spore test. I shove them both in there, put it in my first load of the day, and that's to test that the sterilizer is working, okay? That's what you're going to do for your dental business. If you have, or sorry, your dental office. If you have any questions about that though, let me know. These spore tests that I have, you then put that spore test in an incubator, which I have right here. Mine happens to be for 24 hours. You can get some that are good for 12 hours. You can get some that are good for, I think, even like 15 minutes. You're going to pay more for depending on what you're using. Mine is for 24 hours, which I don't mind that because I don't do that much sterilizing because I have my own business. I'm not seeing 50 patients a day. I'm seeing 3 to 7 patients a day. So that's a big difference. I have plenty of instruments to quarantine for 24 hours and not use them. So when you're working in a dental office, so I'm just going to do a little recap for you here. You want a class 5 indicator. You want a spore testing. These are your spore tests. Put that into your processing challenging device. At the beginning of the day, usually it's the dental assistant that does this, or the first person who's in the office. They would put that in each sterilizer, and you would run an empty load. Do not put any instruments in there. It's just meant to run on empty. Of course, make sure there's plenty of water in the sterilizer. And then once that comes out, what you do is you place those spore tests in your incubator, but then you're also going to have a spore test that wasn't used because you need something to compare them to, okay? So typically your spore test that was used in the sterilizer, let's just say you have 2, they're going to go 1, 2 right here, but then you are going to also have 2 blank ones that you haven't used, so you have something to compare them to. You do have to crush your spore test depending on the incubator and the spore vial you have. They're all a little bit different, but your dental office will show you how to do that. Somebody will show you how to do that. So of course, make sure to obviously turn it on, and then these sit here for 24 hours or 12 hours or 15 minutes, 8 hours, depending on what type of spore vial and incubator you have, okay? But the reason for this is You cannot use those instruments until this spore test is done. So if it's a 12-hour, then you can't use the instruments for 12 hours. If it's for 15 minutes, then you can't use the instruments for 15 minutes, depending on when the spore test is done. So you can see that it has killed all spores, that the sterilizer has killed all spores, because spores are the hardest to kill. So you know that if the sterilizer killed them all, then it's going to kill anything. Does that make sense? So that's extremely important. So again, I wait 24 hours before I can use my instruments. So class 5 indicators, if you need to use your instruments right away, then you would put a class 5 indicator inside the pouch, not just inside the sterilizer, but inside each pouch of instruments. I do not do this because I don't have to. Class 5 indicators are expensive, which is why dental offices prefer not to put a class 5 in every single pouch, because they're expensive. But some offices do spend the money to do that, so they can use the instruments right away. But you do still need a spore test and the incubator, just to make sure that the sterilizer is working properly. But again, it's a good indication that it is if you have a class 5 indicator. They just like us to do more work and spend more money, which is why you have to double check and triple check everything, which is where the spore test and the incubator comes in. And do not forget, you need your log sheet. So this is just an example. So every load has to be logged, where you have to put down the date, the load number, the temperature, pressure, which will say on the sterilizer, what time you put the instruments in, what time you took the instruments out. If it's passed, of course, hopefully it's going to. And then you would also put down your biological indicator, which is another term for a spore test. So the biological indicator and spore means the same thing. So that's why it says BI in the PID, or sorry, PCD. Can you guys see that? I'm gonna zoom in here. So a BI in the PCD means that spore test in the processing challenging device. Did that pass or did it fail? Obviously it passed. You would hope so, or you have to stop using the sterilizer. And then the BI in the control means that's that spore test that I had said you need to take out another spore test that wasn't put in the sterilizer at all. And obviously that's going to pass, because that is showing you that, well, that wasn't put in this, or you know, it's going to show you that the items weren't sterilized. Okay, so you would say pass. The incubator time. So when did you put those spores in the incubator? What's the temperature? It's going to be the same temperature for every incubator. Check your manufacturer's instructions for the incubator. Your initials of, you know, who's putting this on the log, and then contents. So is it 9 pouches of instruments? Or is it 9 pouches of cheek retractors? Is it 9 pouches of restorative instruments? You know, so you do need to be specific here. Quantity of packages, you would say how many packages were in that load. So does that make sense so far? Let me know, you guys, if any questions. I did zoom in, but I'm just going to keep it like this. So I have pouches from Maxil and some from Henry Schein, but I purchased the pouches that have an internal and an external indicator. Some do and some don't, okay? That just says that yes, the instruments inside the pouches have reached optimal temperature. So these change color. This blue becomes like a darker blue, and this pink becomes a darker blue. So these are 2 different pouches, but I wanted to show you that you want the pouch to change color. That is showing you that the pouch has reached a certain temperature, but not the inside of the pouch unless you have an internal indicator. But you still cannot use the instruments right away unless you took it a step further and used a class 5 internal indicator inside the pouch. So again, you guys, let me know if there's any questions about that. So those are basically kind of what you have to know about the indicators and the spore testing. Let me know though if you have any questions, because I know it's very confusing. Even for me, I didn't quite understand it fully until I had to do it myself for my own business. I was a dental assistant where we didn't have all of this like 17 years ago. So things have definitely changed. But let me know if you have any questions and I am more than happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.